right, it's December 10th. Welcome to our committee meeting. Mrs. Pinkhouse, will you please call the roll?
Mrs. Orson?
Present.
Mrs. Michael is present. Mrs. Fowler? Here. Mrs. Cole?
Present.
Mrs. Raver?
Present. Please stand for the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That moves us right into discussion items. And we have Mr. Gabbard here with us this evening.
Hello, hello.
Williams.
How's everybody? I'm doing well. Doing well. Let you know that Williams is off to an incredible start. We just got our state scores back from 3rd grade, and we're up from last year, which is very nice. And we're in contact with each one of those parents to let them know. Our goal this year is to continue our growth and collaborative efforts with each of our students, our teachers, our community members, and our volunteers. We have a lot of community involvement and volunteers that come in, and they do some really good stuff. One of those, just off the top of my head thinking, is School Outfitters. That's helped us in many occasions. And they do a lot of different things, not just for our building, but throughout the district. With each and every year, there's new challenges, but we have a strong sense of pride in our building, and we take a personal stake in the learning and growth of each and every student. Our K through 6 has our integrated Google Classroom, using a Google Classroom with our Google Chromebooks, and it's imperative that we continue to work on those future learning and growth and those skills needed for future learners. We have our curriculum and reading with Wonders. We're now in our second full year of that, and the teachers are off and running with that from kindergarten all the way through 5th grade. And we have Eureka that has just started last year in 3rd grade, and I know that it's being kind of looked at as one of those curriculums for K-2 coming up this year as they look into a math curriculum. Our pre-K, once again, is rated a 5-star program. I can't tell you how many great things they do for our kiddos. When we do, I was talking with Ms. Chaston earlier today of where we think when that program started and how they're doing. I know that my son Mason, who I'm getting ready to go watch play on the reserve basketball team, he was in that program, and when it was in Allison in pre-K. And it was a great start for him. So they do some incredible things down there, and they blossom into higher level thinkers, and they demonstrate those skills for readiness in kindergarten. At this particular point, we're around 309 students in our building. We're working hard. The students are eager to learn. They're excited to be here. We've had a really good turnout so far as less tardies, less absences, and truancy, so we're doing really well with that. So our expectation is high. We have some new teachers this year. Some highlights thus far. Miss Abigail Bush is our new 3rd grade teacher, working with the 3rd grade guarantee. It is a tough and daunting job, but she's up for the challenge. Miss Annie Stonerow is an intervention specialist in our specialized curriculum, working with trunk or treat and some of the other items connecting those students with the community. She's doing a wonderful job. We have 2 new kindergarten teachers from the University of Cincinnati, Susanna Gutierrez and Erica Schulte. They're proving that coming in as first-year teachers, it can be a challenge. They're doing a really good job in picking up on those skills and moving their kids right along. We have a new Title I position that was open. It started a few weeks into the school year. Miss Jacqueline Nye, she has her reading endorsement. She's had 4 or 5 years experience and teaching reading in the middle school. So her knowledge, she came in and literally was already running once she hit the ground. So she's been a treat as well. Our PTA is just simply amazing. Each and every year we do fundraisers, and they do all these big events, and their goal each year is to do bigger and better. They've raised several $1,000s this year and years prior. Some of the things we've done already is helping with the sound system. We've had the shade project out here. Some of the other ones we had planned for this year. If you've been down to Smale Park, you see in between the 2 stadiums, football and Red Stadium, you see this workout gear that's out there. We were going to put some of that stuff on our playground, but with construction and everything getting ready to come upon us here in the next year or two, we had to kind of hold back and just wait a little bit. So they're looking forward, and they do a lot with our students and paying for some buses for each and every grade level for them to go on field trips. They do things with Boo Graham, Boo Night. This year, usually it's 4 to 6. This year it was pre-K to 3. They had their own little movie and trick-or-treat session with some learning activities, and then Boo Night was for the older kids, 4 to 6. It was a huge turnout. They do someone special breakfast, which is, we've done muffins with mom, donut with dad, and we realized that not everyone has a mother, not everyone has a father, so we went with someone special. We do our holiday sale, which is coming up, and pictures and breakfast with Santa. That'll be coming up here this weekend. Just to mention a few of those things. And our Valentine's Day sucker, our teacher appreciation. They do provide dinners for our staff on PTA or parent-teacher conferences nights. So we do appreciate each and everything that our PTA does. We have a lot of partner groups and buddy groups. Our first graders meet with our pre-K students. They not only read to them, but they sit with them and they go over the books with them, and they go back and forth or reading to each other. We have Miss Dykes, who has moved from the traditional classroom of doing reading and science. She's now doing the STEM program, and she's bouncing from each of the elementaries about a 9-week span. Eventually in April, May, she'll come back here, and she continues to work not only in that, but on any time that she has open that she may not have a class, she'll go in and work with the reading teachers and the science teachers and help them out as well. Our K-2 grades integrate the arts by visiting the Children's Theater. Our first grade participates in Xavier Christmas, which is just this past weekend. Over 30 students going down to Xavier and participating in their Christmas show. Our 5th and 6th graders changed this year from having 2 separate teams to kind of having one team. I know Norwood is doing something similar, but basically we have 4 teachers that are teaching reading, writing, science, and math. So those teachers are doing a spectacular job of taking on that role of combining together. Our 3rd grade team is doing a spectacular job as well. Miss O'Connor has always asked me, she goes, get this out there, let it make sure everybody knows. They do a postcard gathering, basically, from around the United States and the world. And they reach out, and they put this out on Facebook, and they reach out to all their other friends and family and try to get as many postcards as they can from different states and continents. Thus far, they have 13 states and 4 different continents. So you can always contact Miss O'Connor if you know anybody that's in I know Brandon's overseas here and there. He could always send something. That would be great. They would love it. Our 6th grade, they do their fundraising each and every year for their end of the year COSI trip to Columbus. They also have had trips to XU for math and science, as well as the Cincinnati Cyclones, who last week just visited us. 3 of their players and one of their team managers came in, showed them how the gear works and everything like that. And then they actually, towards the end of the year, after their season's over, they come in and they actually play hockey with them down on the floor. It's pretty neat. 6th grade's also doing a give back project, the Teal Love and Care packing party, which will be this December, on Wednesday, December 18th. Basically what this is it's a care package. It's an assembly line basically for our students. They come into the classroom, they bring all these gifts, and they package these bags up for local cancer patients who are going through chemotherapy. So it's not just kids, it's adults as well, and it's a really, really popular program. Our title team has come up with something this year that I thought was just an excellent idea, and it seems to be taken off, which is Goodnight Wildcats. We have various people. Our interim superintendent, Mary Ronan, has done that, and several of our teachers. We have a special surprise coming up here within the next week of Santa Claus. Going to be reading, and basically that is just a person that's in there that's going to be reading the book, and we film them, and then we put it out on our social media. And it's taken off and doing pretty well. We have several other people throughout the community too that has taken part in that. That'll go every Wednesday, each and every week throughout the year. Social media continues to be a big part of connecting with our community, with our parents, and with other people, professionals around us. On Twitter, We have our own school page. We also have the one that I have as well. On Facebook, our Williams Avenue Elementary page continues to thrive and gain new members each and every week. Class Dojo is an app that our whole building uses, and it is an app that has done incredible things in contacting parents. It's an instant update. They're doing a neat activity. They take pictures, they send it out to the parents, and they do. The parents reply back with a like. They ask questions, and rarely have we had last year and this year since we've been using it. Have we had that conversation with parents going, hey, what is it that you do? Because I asked my kid, what'd you do at school today? Nothing. We don't have those conversations because the parents are being instantly informed of what's going on around us. Our health aides and our health programs throughout the district and in our building, we had 52 students, I believe it was, in the UC Blue Ash program at Cincy Smiles to go out and get their dental hygiene checks and cleanings. Dr. Fennell and Yoxheimer also come in through the health department, as well as lens crafters helping us get kids screened and get classes that are needed. Avenues for Success has just a vast amount of programs and after-school programs that are helping us. So thus far we have 46 students involved in that. On homework help, we have Monday through Thursday. On Monday and Wednesday we have a reading enrichment group. On Tuesdays and Thursdays we have a math enrichment group. And then each and every Friday, they have fun Fridays that rotate between the schools. They have Cincinnati Zoo come in, School Aid, Newport Aquarium, and then Tuesdays they have Tech Family Night along with the Drake Planetarium and the Art Academy. So they do incredible stuff there as well with our afternoon Avenues for Success, I should say. We keep encouraging people to get involved. It takes a community to raise a school, and we have an awesome community here in Norwood, and we continue to keep pushing them to the edge so we can get them to where they need to be. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate everything that you guys are doing. I've just a question, just when you're talking about Google Classroom, how much keyboarding do the kids get if we're starting it, they're having access to the laptops sooner and earlier, and are they proficient enough to be able to actually...
It's quite amazing actually when you think about
or are they just kind of like learning because they're on it at an earlier age? Or
it's quite amazing when you think about when we first started this, we thought, man, we've got to have maybe an extra exploratory class, to have just typing so you learn. They pick up on it so fast and they can go, and then boom, they start using that. Several of the teachers in the earlier grades have a little program that towards the end of the day or their intervention time, they're able to kind of get on this little typing program and kind of use the keys. But they can do more than what we think we can, and that's why we got to keep pushing them.
Right.
We can't just go, I'm not sure if they know. We got to keep pushing them. Any other questions?
Do you need an elf for your Santa breakfast?
We would love to have you.
Send me the information.
That would be this
Professional elf. I will-
Saturday.
It's this Saturday from 9 to 10. 9 to 10. We have some fun
Might
activities,
be able to show up
some
in
breakfast.
costume for you guys.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Because Gabby Claus ended up having a different event.
He did.
And there was,
We have a different Santa Claus this time, but this one has got a lot of energy too. So we're happy.
I'm pretty sure all schools are invited to come to this.
Absolutely, absolutely.
It's not just Williams.
Yeah. Encourage them all. All right, if you don't mind, I'm going to dismiss myself to our Norwood Reserve basketball at the high school. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, our next guest is Mr. Roger Kipley, Student Services.
Good evening. So I brought my own handouts. Just to make it quick for you, I know everybody's time is valuable. Please take one packet and pass it along. So this is my annual report to satisfy the state. We're required to report we're adopting and enforce nutritional standards throughout the school, and those food and beverages that are available for sale to our students. That's pretty much that in a nutshell. From a nutritional standpoint, on breakfast and at lunch, we meet those guidelines. We went through our every 3-year review last year, again with flying colors, and passed that very well. In the handouts, what you'll see, the one area of concern and one thing that in our audit was pointed out, they did walk into a bake sale in our high school lobby in a time frame that is not per guideline. So we have this wonderful little handout that we made a few years ago for the Smart Snack Guideline. This pretty much goes over every rule and reason as to why we restrict the types of foods and beverages sold during a school day. Now keep in mind, based on this guideline, a school day is midnight the night before until 30 minutes after the end of the school day. So at the high school, that would be 3:30. This also affects any fundraisers. So kids walking around selling candy bars and that kind of thing, unfortunately, falls under the umbrella of no-nos for Smart Snacks. Every now and then, I have to go out and play food police and remind people of the Smart Snack Guidelines. So this is something to keep in mind. Also along the terms of what you might not know or know about school nutrition, these are all of the guidelines in a one-page handout for each grade level. So you'll see high school, middle school, and then elementary. And we put on there what we're required to actually serve the kids, how many of this color, what types of starch, how many legumes, how much protein, etc., etc. We are regulated in everything that we serve, including calories and how much we serve to what age group. So all of that is things that we have to take into consideration when putting together our menus and offering our kids breakfast and so forth and so on. I think that pretty much meets the topic of presenting our status in terms of nutrition. Moving right along, community eligibility provision is a provision offered by the government that would allow impoverished areas to offer free breakfast and free lunch to children. There are guidelines for qualifying for that. We have looked at this in the past as a school district at doing, and for reasons, multiple reasons, chose not to go down this road. You guys all got one of these, I believe. This basically shows you what has to happen is there's a thing called direct certification. So we have the free and reduced meals application. Everybody knows what that is. It's the form you fill out online to find out whether or not your kid qualifies for food. Some families automatically qualify through direct certification. What I do is I upload our enrollment to a state website, and it kicks back to me a matching list of people who may already receive a benefit. If they already receive one of those benefits, then they automatically qualify for free and reduced meals. We do this, we're required to do the direct certification 3 times a year. I do it every month. If I can capture one kid who hasn't filled out an application that can start receiving free meals from that point on, it's a success. So we do it every month. Of the people who qualify through direct certification, if 40%, if that number equals 40% of our enrollment, then that school or the district would qualify for the community eligibility program or provision. All right, so what you see here, we can also combine schools in order to meet that 40%. And I have some samples or examples of that.
And Roger, you need to know, I did pass out like a one-pager just so people knew what it was.
So you have an idea, great.
Yes.
Right off the bat, we see on that chart there that we just did this, was it a month ago?
Yes.
So this is our numbers as of a month ago. These numbers change all the time, just so we know that. A month ago, Norwood View automatically qualified, as did Sharpsburg. If we combined the primary with either one of those, we hit either 40% or, I'm sorry, if we combine it with View, we hit 41%. So 3 of our schools would qualify using this data that we received at this time.
And what that would mean, the parents don't have to fill the forms out. They get free lunch just like they get free breakfast, which may help us with our debt going forward. We will not continue to accumulate the huge amount of unpaid debt we have for lunches.
Correct. That's that, and it also improves in participation. Studies have shown that more kids, and our breakfast has shown that. When we move breakfast to the classroom, our breakfast participation rates went from 28%, on average in our schools to pushing 70% in the elementary schools. So, when we make it available to kids and we make it available to them for free, it's amazing how many more kids actually participate in the programs. So that's a big thing as well. The more participation, the more claim I'd be able to submit, the more money we return back for our program. At this moment of this data, if we combine the middle school with, for example, Sharpsburg Elementary or with View, we would receive around 38 to 40%. So that would mean that the primary wouldn't qualify, but we could probably get the middle school in there. I threw some different scenarios together just to sort of say, Sharpsburg Elementary and the primary at 39%. If we continue to check this every month, we might actually find that primary, Sharpsburg, View, and the middle school qualify. Now, we would, as a district, decide to still require everybody to fill out the free and reduced meals application. Because what we don't want to do is, you don't have to fill it out here, you have to fill it out there, then you don't have to do it here, and then when you get here, you have to do it. That would become more confusing than just everybody fill it out. Whether or not we actually use the data that way, or from the SNAP program would be up to us.
But if they didn't fill it out, the children would still get fed.
Correct.
Free, which is they don't now, which is why we have that huge debt.
That's why we have debt, because everybody gets fed. If a kid comes to the lunch line, we feed every child. That was the policy in the past, and it's the policy that we continue to have moving forward. The robocalls that we started to do 16 weeks ago, 12 weeks ago, whatever it was, have had success. We are not seeing the debt continue to snowball out of control. It's sort of plateaued, if you will, and is maintaining its course. I have seen some rather large checks come in to pay off very large debts. So there is success to that. We've had a couple small fundraisers and some small charitable things where people send in money, and we handle that as well. None of those are taking a big chunk out of the debt, but it does help. So this is something that I would recommend that we push forward for this. It's something I've been pushing for years now. If it's free, they take it. It's just how it works. We've seen that with the breakfast program, and I know we would see that with the lunch program as well. A lot of our families are taking it. We might as well, set it up so that it works that way.
You talk about if it would make the line faster, so they'd have more time to eat without having to actually check in with the cashier.
They still have to check in with the cashier.
But is it a simpler method at that point in time, with not having to exchange money or?
It probably is, but that's not what slows our lines down.
Okay.
We don't tend to have log jams at the registers so much as we have log jams in the elementary schools with kids deciding what items to take and changing their minds. So that's just lunch. I mean, any one of us goes. I mean, I know when I go with my wife, she's got to look at every item on the menu and I'm ready to go, So that's not where the log jam is in terms of time for lunch.
So I noticed with the high school lunchroom, I was there recently, had lunch, it was fantastic. Chicken sandwich, very good. I guess some of it isn't being used, like not all the stations are being used. So with the log jam happening with making a decision, would it be easier to maybe open up another section so kids can choose at this one, or this one? It's all the same food option, like if you're serving chicken here, you're serving chicken there, you just now have two lines.
But we don't have problems at the high school, middle school, with the time that it takes to get to.
Is that option available for the elementaries, throwing an extra like portable cart?
We don't have the size.
No size.
No. Unfortunately, the size that we're restricted to in these old buildings, the service line is the size that the service line is. We can't. The high school, we're blessed in the fact that in the 70s they built kitchens and cafeterias much larger than they needed. I have a 40-foot ventilation hood at the high school. I've worked in restaurants. I've worked at the Bengals Stadium, and we don't have 40-foot ventilation hoods. You know, we have all kinds of room for equipment at the high school. We do not have that in our elementary schools. Now, one of the things that I've been pushing to try and take us to is a commissary-style cafeteria or kitchen at the high school, where we cook all of the foods at the high school, and then we transport them out to be heat and served in the elementary schools. As we look at moving 6th grade to the middle school building, we're going to reduce the number of enrollment at the elementary schools even more. I am looking at the future of reducing my staff at the elementary schools to just 2 people, to where we basically heat the food and serve the food. We're not having to actually cook things or prepare things that require more labor. All the labor I'm looking to move into the high school, where I can control it a little bit better. There are no supervisors in food service. There are no managers in food service. There are titles that say that, but they don't necessarily have the ability to manage. There's one, and it's hard to be in all the schools. So the more labor I put into one area, the easier it is for me to manage that. You know, we're looking to move that direction. As we do that, we will be able to serve food as fast as we possibly can. You know, again, we have to keep in mind, it takes a certain amount of time for a child, even if they know what they're going to eat when they're at home, when they get there and their friends are all chosen other items, and they see what it looks like, and they didn't realize that what it was because they didn't know the name of it, you know, they change their minds. And then we have the issue with kids and learning how to talk and eat at the same time, so they're still learning that. There's a couple programs I've done in the past. They were called like Learning. I know they did this at Cincinnati Public as well. They did like Learning Lunch Tuesday. We did Mentoring Mondays, you know, where we would offer any adult staff member in the school a free lunch if they came down and sat at a table and engaged with students and helped them with learning how to do that, interacting and eating at the same time.
Yeah.
Right. So we've tried to do some things, we're trying to do some things further to try and make the lunch line a little quicker. But the high school, middle school, we don't have that issue. If anything, the problem we have at the high school, middle school is we have too much space in the back. So we do have quite a lot of room for storage, which is good, because as we remodel schools, I can bring stuff over. We're picking some stuff up from North. I went over there today. There's a couple items over there that we can utilize at the middle school. There's a couple of really neat things that I'd love to utilize at the middle school. I'm not sure if there are some wonderful old like butcher block countertops with pan hangers. They're like, you know, antique cooks.
It sounds like HGTV, Roger. But we are trying. Julie has asked our architect to do some drawings of the middle school cafeteria just so we can get the permits, because we don't want any issues with that when we move the elementary school up there. And actually, Roger, I have a question. How soon could we start community?
April. The application opens in April. So my goals, if everybody's on board with this, is to track the data between now and April. And in April, we'll fill out the application and we see where we land.
Is that the only thing that you needed from us? I mean, is there anything else that we
Need
can
just to
help
say
you kind of
yes, that's
keep
it.
this? Okay.
And then it'll be April's data.
But it's for next year, so we
And
can't
it'll
start
be,
feeding
no,
the
we cannot
children
do that
until
for
next
this year.
year.
It won't be until next year. And we'll use April's data this school year that we're in. So hopefully it continues to change and we see those improvements, and maybe we can get 4 schools to qualify for it. Any other questions?
Roger, once we're good in April, it's good for 4 years thereafter? Okay. So
And then there's a renewal, yep, just like we currently do Provision 2 for breakfast, which is a similar program where everybody gets to eat for free. It's a 4-year program unless we see data change. So for example, our free and reduced numbers dropped off so far at Williams that it changed more than 5%. Therefore, they had to come back in and do another base year. But that wasn't anything that we can't manage. And now we're on 4 more years with Williams now too. So other than that, if all the free and reduced numbers stay the same, then they just keep doing a renewal. Now, I have a dinner to go to with the Lifetime Foundation next. That is to pursue a grant that we received couple of years ago, that we're at the final stage of that grant, which is give me the $50,000. They have to agree on how we plan on spending the $50,000, so I can't just say I want to build a new kitchen and they give me money. What we are looking at is software. Our software system at the food service department is a little antiquated. Nothing seems to communicate with anything, and there are a lot better options out there. So one of their teams is looking at those options. They have people that research all of that. I will look into that with them, meet with them to see if we can't continue to move down that road. Hopefully, the software programs don't cost the whole $50,000, and we can look at purchasing some items to make the cafeteria, the kitchen over at the middle school a little bit nicer. I would like to build something that is going to last 100 years, or at least 30 years. So, you know, if there are any things that we think may go down in the direction, do we ever think we might serve all of the middle school kids in that? We need to keep that in mind when we build that kitchen. So we know the capacity that we need. The space is certainly there. It's a bigger space than any of our elementaries. Kids shouldn't have any problem going through those lunch lines. They'll be huge. We can offer more options like we do at the high school, middle school. The biggest, again, problem with all those offerings at the elementary levels is just mass decision making. So
I'm not thinking more options, I'm thinking more
the same
stations,
options in
same
different
option,
areas.
yeah, pick line 1, 2, or 3, same food, go.
And then we get into labor, because we have to make sure we can manage it and keep kids from sticking fingers. Kindergartners and first graders and second graders and third graders have trouble serving themselves. We see it work on the salad bars. The salad bars are more rarely fresh fruit and vegetable bars, where they can scoop some of that on. But doing those types of things would certainly help, because they don't have to choose which vegetable they want. They can just go to the bar and pick out what they want to get through. So looking at doing that is also part of what we hope to maybe use this, because these guys, Lifetime, Whole Foods, Chef Ann program, that's what this is. They all love salad bars. So, yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now I'm going to ask to be excused as well.
Okay, that brings us to construction discussion. Well, I see we're passing Interact for help, but I have construction
Is it?
next. Which would you like to do?
Well,
That's up to you.
the construction.
We'll do an update next week.
Okay.
Construction.
All right, Interact for Help. I just, I wanted to ask if you would like Linda Edwards, Kathy Strasser, and I to attend just to get information about a school-based health center, because I do think we'd have the capacity if we put it at the high school / middle school if they were interested, just to get information and what we could do. I mean, it is a huge application, and we would need a partner like Mercy or Try Health, and I didn't know if anyone had any contacts, but yes.
So we looked into this before, and I thought they said that the space didn't pan out for usage.
Well, I think we could, I don't know, that's what Kathy Strasser was looking back, because you're correct, we did apply, or at least wrote something up in the past.
Yeah.
So would you like us to try to revisit it?
I would love to. I personally worked at the ones that are at CPS, side, and a couple other locations. They're fantastic facilities if we can accommodate. I think the concern last time was that the space wasn't going to fit their needs, but it might take some tweaking. And if it's something we can partner with someone big enough to do the tweak.
And Tina, if you'd like to go, since, well, we come back and say space issue and see what we could do between the high school and middle school.
Sure. It's a great program. It is a fantastic program. I love it at our school.
So then we will go and get the information and bring it back to you.
Sally, Debbie, do you guys have any questions? Because we had discussed this, was it a year or more ago? But did you?
Do you know what it is?
Mhm.
Like,
I've heard about it.
Nursing and everything.
Yeah.
Just for everyone.
Okay.
Yes, and it's for families too, not just the
Right.
students. But I mean, it has to work in terms of billable hours, because if the hospital sends their nurse practitioner, they have to see enough students. So we do need cooperation from the school to make sure that there's permissions, but they can take care of sick children, the family. The mother doesn't have to come and take the child home, sometimes take the rest of the children with them, which just kills our attendance rate. It's open to staff. I know when I dealt with them before, we did try to use them on an outside door, so therefore you could have community use them also on weekends and after hours, because there's something in the Affordable Care Act about community outreach, which is what makes the hospitals willing to place the centers outside of the hospital setting.
I think one option that I don't know if it's even viable anymore, but as soon as you walk in from the side, like where this mini auditorium is, when you walk downstairs, those 2 classrooms that are down there, I don't know if they're even used anymore.
They are.
They are currently being used.
All of
I
that
just see
space is
desks
used.
like crammed up against the wall down there, it just
That's
looks
our-
unused. So I was like.
It's not the
maybe-
classrooms. The classrooms are being
Okay.
used. What you are talking about is, especially during construction right now, IT has accumulated a lot of stuff and it's being stored downstairs.
Okay, I was just worried that that space completely was unused. I was like, well, maybe they could like work in those 2 rooms and kind of commandeer it into a functional office that would be accessible from the side door. It's right downstairs, kind of out, away from students. It would be an easy location to retrofit, so to speak, for their needs.
Was it just a space issue the last time, or did you have a partner like Mercy, or who was the partner?
It was-
We just looked at I think we just got to the plan, we were in the planning phase, it's like
So there wasn't
exploring
even
all
a
of
partner
the.
yet, okay.
Right, yeah.
All right, that's what I was.
But that was like the.
And Glenda said she was gonna try to dig out all the old
Right,
information.
because there was a lot, I mean, I remember it being a really lengthy presentation, but so the partnership, it could be children's? What are the stipulations for who the partner
It could
is?
be children's. Children is partnered, Deaconess has, Tri-Health and Mercy. I know that those 4
Okay.
have partnered, as have, I think it was 7 Hills, although you do try to pick a partner that's sustainable. The hospitals in general are large enough.
Would we want to partner with the people we already use for our sports teams and, sports medicine programs?
And
Trying Health is our athletic,
Right.
Well,
So
see,
maybe
that's
And-
great that they
but
really
Cincinnati
want partners.
Children's also partners with us and some other.
Those are 2
venues.
possibilities, because children's does
So if we
run
already have the
several.
relationship, tap into expanding it.
So we just thought we'd go, it's informational, just see where they are,
Yeah.
what it would take.
I think it's definitely worth looking at again.
It would help so much with attendance too, because if the kid needs to just go get their flu shot, they don't have to leave for the whole day to go get their flu shot.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm even thinking of those couple of weeks at the beginning of school, we're waiting for everybody to get their vaccination
Yes.
records, and then suddenly
And they'll do
attendance
physicals
drops
for
because
sports, so it's just.
we're missing it, and, yeah, there's lots of.
Yeah, it would help a lot.
All right, then we will go.
Great. All right, item 3.05 is Organizational Records Commission Tax Budget Hearing Committee meeting dates.
So we talked a little bit about this at our last meeting, but I need to get an official date from everybody for the organizational meeting. It's required by law to be on the books before January 15th. So we're proposing January 6th for our organizational meeting. What we'll do is we'll start the meeting at 5, and each one of those tax budget meeting, public records meeting and all that. The next meeting will just conclude at the end of the current meeting until we finally get to the organizational meeting and then the committee meeting. So we'll all do it on one day.
But we're on the 7th, it'll be Tuesday.
The 7th is what we thought we would do, but then not everybody could make it, so we proposed the 6th. And I thought everybody was okay with the 6th.
The 6th is my Town volunteer night. I'm always the first Monday of the month.
Okay.
I didn't know that that was proposed.
Okay, so does anybody want to throw out another date, or can we,
Or you said you can meet at you said 5?
yes?
I don't have to be around until 7, so as long, I can do
On
this
the
first. Yeah, we can do
Okay.
it first. I just, if we could run long, I just have to bounce out.
Okay. That would be good if the 6th works for. I have talked to Brandon about it, and he is okay with the 6th, though.
Should we recheck and make sure that the 7th is still bad with everybody? Is that?
I was the one who.
It was you, okay.
Which if I absolutely had to, I could, I think, leave the meeting I'm at early, but if we could do the 6th, that would be
So are we moving the full meeting to the 6th? Just having the organizational first,
And then
followed by the regular committee
the
meeting?
committee meeting, correct. Okay, so we will put it on the agenda for next week to approve January 6th as our organizational annual meeting.
5 p.m.?
Yes.
Our next item is the high school sign funded by past class unused funds.
So I was invited to kind of provide some clarification on that discussion that we started regarding the sign. So I brought a couple of examples, and it includes the quotes. There's one of each. And kind
These are
of,
lovely.
and truly it's a rough estimate at this point because we were just seeking ideas and seeking an attempt to what is possible within our budget that was rolled over. So if you want to explain one more time how that fund, or how the funds became available, I guess.
Yes, the law is pretty clear that when you have a class or when you have a fund that is specified for 1 year, or say like a senior class fund, we start those when they're freshmen, and they start building their balance in that fund until they get to be seniors, which is a really expensive time of year for seniors. And so after the senior year is over with, the auditors tell us that money needs to be decided what's going to happen with the money. Most of the time, if they get proper direction from the treasurer's office, they will roll that money over to the next year's senior class, or they will buy something special for the district. And I've seen several very nice gifts around the district from classes like from 1957, so it's really kind of a neat thing to do. So what I would ask the board to consider is that even though we have a lot of needs that they could contribute to, we really would like to have something that we can put an engraving on that says donated by the classes of, I think it
goes way back.
15, 16, and 17, 18. 16, 17.
But it even goes farther back than that,
Yeah.
because
Some of it was rolled
rolled over from,
From freshman.
from a long time
So
ago.
is that why 16 is so huge?
No, there was one fund that wasn't one of the senior classes where they had already conglomerated. Like I'm moving it all to the general fund, which is how the law says. But at one time they conglomerated them all into a principal's fund.
Yes.
And that's where they just sat. So if we take all that, put it in the general fund and specify this is how we're going to spend it, I'm going to get a purchase order together and we're going to spend it and we're going to put an engraving on it that says it was donated by all those classes.
Mhm.
So that it's a public acknowledgement of the kids' hard work.
And this is just the one sign.
One sign.
Yeah, so that was the other piece.
They're very
Are there other
expensive.
designs?
Yes, this was just a rough draft that
Is
we,
that?
I know.
I know, I'm just saying like that, it doesn't match the aesthetic of the building. It
Right.
doesn't
We
go
need
to
something
support, it needs
creative.
something.
We wanted an initial idea
Right.
of the cost of a digital sign. Because if you know the sign that's out there right now, I go out periodically and hand do the letters. And it's, I try to be efficient, but when it's really cold, I don't like to go out there. But, so the thought process is that by being digital, we can change the sign, we can reflect more events that are happening, and when those events happen, we can pull the information down and change it very quickly and be a little more up to date with what's out there and available. So technology is extremely expensive. Again, these were just examples. We could go with masonry and we could do a lot of stuff, but then again, you're looking at a lot of cost. So I gave them a very rough idea of, and they looked at the sign that we have, and if you want to stay within that kind of world, so that when somebody brought up, can we aesthetically match, for example, the middle school sign? We don't want the high school sign to look too different than what's down on the same side of the street. So they just threw those together, honestly. But they do have, if you wanted to Google LED digital signs online, you can see examples of all kinds. They're willing to specify our logo, our emblem, our brand, whatever the desire is for the aesthetic of the school, we can have that happen. But it's just an idea. So
the way I see this moving forward is that we have to get 3 quotes for whatever we decide. So we'll have a small committee get together, make a decision on what fits, what our ideas are, what fits the best in front of the building, and then we'll bring the final product to you guys just for your review. It doesn't need to be approved by the board, but I know it's interesting, so you'd probably like to see it before it goes in. And then
I'd like to see a match across district. I know that's hard to do with funding and how expensive these are. I love the idea of using the masonry like in front of the primary building, something that just wraps it, makes it stand out. There are a lot of community members with those skill sets that might even be willing to donate their time and energy into something that small. Just a place to put it to make it look nice, and that could even be the thing that carries over to each building is a little bit of masonry matches every building. Something that small could tie them all together if we eventually get that into budget.
it would be nice, and after we get done with construction, we'll have a much better idea of, do we have money for this? But yeah, it would be nice to have that, because they do provide a lot more help for parents to remember, oh my gosh, tonight's the night I gotta do this, or I gotta do that, or even congratulations for this team winning this. It's really is a nice thing to have. So it's nice to have a start at high school and.
Yeah, and it can be, like I said, a model for if you foresee it going district-wide. It can be a model, and so we can take our time. But that was the original idea. There's no rush. So we want to do it right. We didn't want to rush into it.
Right.
And we wanted to do it right.
We can even see if there's some technology grants out there that might allow this flexibility.
Yeah, because you can see, just the basic standard is quite pricey.
It is.
Is this, what was left enough to cover this ballpark price? I can't remember what the total would have been from all
I
this.
can't remember either. I'm thinking it was just under 40,000.
Okay, so this would be about what?
Well, the two classes I spoke to, 17 and 18, they were at 11 together. And then I think the other one was like 16.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the number that I saw was around 38,000 total. But you can see the one quote comes in at 33, and that is just a basic. That's without fancy things. So it is a process. We've had some other ideas I could tell you about, but we thought this would be the most impactful at this time.
So the class of 17 and 18 had 11,500, and then the other class was right at, class of 16 was right at 17,000. So we've got 28,500.
Yeah. But then we had another.
There was something else.
There was that other class. Yeah. That other fund, the blended one already.
The two I talked to were thrilled about the idea of the sign.
Good.
And I was mentioning things like the sound system and stuff. They're like, the sign would be really cool.
Good.
Yeah.
I hear you.
That's good. It is a good idea. I like it. I appreciate it.
Do you guys have any other questions, or I know we honestly are not in a rush except to get the quotes and to start the process is where we are.
Well, like Tina's still here since we're gonna be talking about employment and coaches and hiring.
Okay.
Would you mind giving an update before you leave?
Yes. So what she's referring to is that The athletic department has been in process of a coach search for the football position that has been posted. They had 31 applications for the position, yes. And that pool of resumes and things was narrowed down to about 12. They have a panel of folks that are doing the interviews with actual face-to-face interviews, which were our athletic boosters, parents, administration, our athletic director. I'm trying to think now. There was a panel. So the committees have met, they've done interviews, they have narrowed that 12 down to 3. There will be another round with the panel this week, and a decision will be made this week. So once that person has been named, we've requested that we bring that name to the board meeting for approval, because they would like to start right away with the coaching duties that are required for the football season coming up next year.
Thank you.
Did I hit it
So
on the head?
you want it in the December meeting? so
December
it starts
19th, we would
January.
we will have the name by then, yes. And currently, it's down to 3. So from 31
It's
to
going
3.
quickly, so that was, something we were kind of concerned about is waiting, and then, how much work can get done, and, the planning and prep work that goes into the season. We want to make sure that it's happening
Correct.
thoughtfully and not just,
Correct. So we were very pleased with the response, those included, 31
That's so
applicants.
many. It's a lot.
Yes,
And then that person will then have a say in building a team of assistant coaches
Yes.
at that point.
yes. All right, thank you.
Right, for the education committee report, we just have student field trips, and all 6 items are show choir competitions in the months of February and March. There are 4 in February and 2 in March. 'Tis the season.
Are the March dates, the cruise dates?
I don't think so, there's 2 weekend dates, the 14th and the 20th, or I don't even know.
21st. I just want to make sure that wasn't that week, in case we have to make changes.
No. And then that brings us to personnel and superintendent recommendations.
Yes, under personnel, we did have one resignation. She is moving to New York, so she will be missed. Michelle's daughter, actually. And under employment, we are again hiring a number of supplemental contract individuals and also pupil activity contracts. And also, as you can see, there's dollars for soccer tournaments. And also an Avenues for Success individual at one of our elementary schools.
Brandon did not get the policy committee report, but it looks like there are quite a few. So I would just recommend going through and reading all of those. There's cash balance, student transportation services, things that we've talked about in the past, right? No tobacco use by staff members, truancy and remedial instruction, promotion and retention of students, tobacco use by students, and no tobacco use on district property. And I honestly don't know if all of those are second reading. Yeah, second
I
reading.
believe they are.
Yeah.
So those will be approved next week.
References to buildings and grounds with Debbie.
Doesn't look like we have any requests this month.
And finance committee report, Julie.
Thank you. Financials are attached to the agenda for your review, as well as the change order listing for Sharpsburg and the enrollment report. November's financials were slightly better than expected, with revenues only short by $3,000 and seeing $20,000 in savings. So you see we were very close to estimated. Year-to-date financials are pretty good, and I still expect to meet this year's goals reported in the November forecast. The November month-end general fund cash balance was $11,708,000. In my CFO report are a couple of summary pie graphs showing our exempt property due to TIF and abatement that I thought was very interesting. If anyone would like to review that. The conclusion is about 17% of our total valuation is exempt from taxation due to TIF, CRAs, abatements, and urban renewals. On the agenda, 8.02, appropriation resolution and 412 agreement for the current month. 8.03, Duke Energy easement. This easement will allow Duke to work on the Sharpsburg Elementary side to install a new transformer. The new transformer was part of our construction project. The easement covers 7 feet on either side of the transformer. I will also add a 412 certificate for the NDA agreement that we approved last month. It slipped past me, but I'll have it on the next week's agenda for your approval. And that is all I have for finance.
We're light, really.
I know.
All right, that's it. Under an hour.
Oh, I do have a message from Katie at the school outfitter. She says hello. I ran into her in LA at the meeting, and she sends her love to Norwood, and is super excited to continue her relationship with us. So they say hi.
Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion?
Mrs. Rosa,
Yes.
Mrs. Allen,
Yes.
Mrs. Cole,
Yes.
Mrs. Rigger.
Yes.